see what we got here. The Pharisees asked Jesus, why do your disciples not live according to the traditions of the elders? And Jesus replied, your hearts are far from God. Your hearts are far from me. You teach human precepts. You teach traditions as though they were doctrine. Therefore, all traditions of the church are bad. Amen. Okay, now our hymn of the day is there's got to be something a little bit more to that, right? Let's take a look at that. I mean, is this really what Jesus was saying? Traditions are bad? All traditions are bad? Well, let's look at that. I don't know about you, but I like traditions. Okay? We have many traditions in my family. For example, in our Thanksgiving dinner, when we are all seated around that wonderful meal, we all take turns saying what we are thankful for. We do that as we're sharing our meal. And when my kids were younger, we had a tradition that Christmas presents were not opened until around noon on Christmas Day. Yeah, hear the groans from that? Well, that's for two reasons. One, because in my first call, we had a Christmas morning worship service, and I wasn't home till around noon. And two, because it's always fun to torture your own kids. Now, Jesus, though, was talking about religious traditions, or traditions in the church. Now, we certainly have traditions in our churches. Here at St. Paul, we have a traditional candlelight service on Christmas Eve. And here at St. Paul, it is tradition to have the St. Paul brass play at special services. And I think these are good traditions. But sometimes traditions are no longer applicable. It doesn't mean that they are bad, but it simply means they are no longer appropriate or timely or meaningful. In fact, I think really we have three different types of traditions. We have traditions that are still good and helpful for the ministry to which we have been called. We have traditions that maybe used to be helpful, but for one reason or another, they no longer are. Those are probably the most difficult to change. And we have three traditions that simply are based on things we simply do not believe in, okay, that we believe are wrong. Let's look at those. I've mentioned, first of all, what I think are good traditions here at St. Paul. It includes the Christmas candlelight service and the St. Paul brass. But I think here at St. Paul, we also have very high-quality worship services. Now, note, I'm not talking about the difference between traditional worship and contemporary worship. I'm simply talking about the quality of worship. Regardless of the style, I think we have high-quality worship here at St. Paul. Another thing that I believe that we do well is that we have a very good adult education program. We normally have 3 adult Sunday school classes running every Sunday morning. That's very unusual. It means that a large percentage of our adults regularly participate in Christian ed, although we could always have more. That's the first set of traditions that are good, that are helpful. Now, swinging all the way to the other side, churches have some traditions that simply are bad. Traditions that are centered around things we do not believe in. For example, probably everyone is familiar with the tradition of giving away a bride. We romanticize it, we remember it from the past, we think of it fondly. But do you know what the source of it is? It comes from when women were considered to be pieces of property, and their ownership was transferred from one man to another, from the father to the groom. And we do not believe that women are pieces of property. So here at St. Paul, although a bride can be escorted by her father or by anyone down the aisle, we do not have the giving away of the bride because it's based on our tradition. We simply do not believe it. And finally, there come the traditions that maybe used to have a good meaning. They used to have a solid foundation, but they no longer do. The most famous one I remember is actually a secular one, and it's a story about a grandmother and the way that she used to make a pot roast. She would add all of the regular spices: olive oil, salt, pepper, garlic pepper, onion pepper, parsley. But the one thing that she would do, and no one could figure out why, is that she would cut off the ends of the pot roast before she would cook it. No one could figure this out. Did it have a better flavor that way? Did it cook more evenly? Did it allow the spices to work their way deeper into the pot roast? And no one would ask her, because she was the matriarch of the family, and no one questioned the matriarch. Finally, a favorite granddaughter worked up the nerve to ask her grandmother why she cut off the ends of her pot roast. So all the cooks gathered together, and the granddaughter asked the question, "Why, Grandma? Why did you cut off the ends of your pot roast?" And the grandmother looked up, and she gave that kind of look only a grandmother can give. And she said, "Because that's the only way it would fit into my old roasting pan." Old traditions make no sense for us today. Now, more serious one, a friend of mine from seminary had one such tradition in the church that he was serving something that really was good, but turned out to be bad. He tells us something that happened for decades in this church. It was an English Christmas dinner and fundraiser for the youth. The women coordinated it, the council members cooked it, the youth served it. They had prime rib and all the fixings. They had a play to reenact the birth of Jesus. And it was all set in a traditional 19th century setting. It was fun. It was eloquent. However, as the years went by, it became skewed. It developed into who got to do what, or whose spot was where, or who sat where, or whose role was what, or who got the money, or where did it go, and where did it come from, and so forth. Details over planning, over the purpose, and what the dinner was supposed to be about was all suddenly hidden by expectations and pride. They ended up canceling it for a few years. When they restarted it, they had a better mindset about it. But in the wake, people actually left the church over how things were handled, how it was not right. So traditions can be good, they can be bad, they can start good, and they can move to bad, they can start bad, and they can move to good. This is confusing. So what can we really say about traditions? Well, we can say what Jesus said. Traditions and laws, and really all of that kind of stuff, are not wrong. It is the elevation of traditions and laws to the Word of God, to that high level, that is wrong. When our traditions and laws become the most important thing to us, they become our God. When we worship our traditions and our laws, like a law that you should wash your hand before you eat, and if you don't, you've committed this great sin. Well, we have set up false gods. For the good of the ministry of St. Paul, we must always be evaluating our traditions and ministries and programs. We must always be asking ourselves, is this what God is calling us to do? Is this what following the things that Jesus has called us to do mean by being His followers? Is this fulfilling our call to boldly share God's Word in unconditional love with all? If it is, we must encourage it and feed it and make sure it grows. But if it is not, then we must let it go. We must let it die. We must let it be part of the past. And we do that, I think, individually, and we do that collectively. Individually by doing everything that we can to do the things that Jesus has called us to do, and to stop doing things that Jesus has warned us against. I truly believe that we are at our best when we do the things Jesus has called us to do. To feed the hungry, to clothe the naked, to visit the imprisoned and the sick. To go outside these walls into the community where God has set us to be Jesus to those around us. And to hold ourselves accountable, not to slander, lie, and gossip, and all the other things Jesus calls us not to do. And that means we must feed and grow the good in us. There's an old Cherokee story that talks about this. One day an old man was telling his grandson about a fight that constantly happens within himself. It's a fight between two wolves. One is evil, full of anger, and envy, regret, guilt, false pride, resentment, inferiority, superiority, all those things. And the other is good, filled with love and peace, joy, kindness, patience, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. And the grandson thought about it for a while, and then he asked his grandfather, "Granddaddy, which wolf wins?" The old Cherokee thought for a moment, and he simply replied, "The one I feed the most." This is part of our call. We must work every day to make sure that nothing blocks access to Jesus' love. Not traditions, not preferences, not we've always done it that way isms, not us as individuals, not us as a congregation. Jesus had a way of walking right into the midst of the rejected and the untouchables and drawing them to himself. He still does that today when we give first place to the law of love in our hearts and allow the truth to pour out from our hearts and our hands. When we commit ourselves to having more Jesus and less religion, we feel his love and boldly share it with those who are of no less importance to God than we are. This day, be empowered by God. God is looking for ordinary people to be empowered by him to do extraordinary things. This day, be strengthened by the living Word of God. This day, go from here to practice what we preach and teach and proclaim by being disciples in your actions as well as your words. And all God